make a comic, but I always get demotivated so fast. Been there, done that. So, wanna get burritos? Thank you for supporting me financially! To Porto Funk and Otherdoodle for boosting my Discord server, and Random Epic Cake for becoming the first member of my Ko-Fi in the silliest cat tier. Guys, that's so crazy. Thank you so much, Random Epic Cake. And if you want to receive a shout out in the next video, you can leave a super thanks in the comments, donate to my Ko-Fi, or become a member of my Ko-Fi, or boost my Discord server. Now let's get on with the video. First and foremost, I'm sorry if my voice sounds weird. I have been a little allergy-y recently, so, you know. But that's besides the point. We're going to be talking about one of my favorite things today, webcomics. Webcomics are really, really cool. I love seeing what, like, some of my favorite YouTubers have made webcomics. I've checked out a lot of those. And I have my own, of course, called Silly Cats Co. And we'll be talking about that later. I want to give you guys a brief, like, summary, and so you can get interested into it, but that's going to be after the tutorial portion. So let's get through the tutorial portion first. So tip 1 of making your first webcomic, and also probably the most important tip, don't be too ambitious. Your first webcomic doesn't have to be this big project that takes you the span of years of planning, and it's just this thing that you've been wanting to do forever. No. That should not be your first webcomic. That should happen way later down the line in your making of comics. Your first comic should be something that can wrap up in preferably less than a year and has a short, simple story that will conclude. And that doesn't mean it's going to be like boring and it can't be fun and interesting. Silly Cats Co. is definitely not like this crazy overarching story, but I have a lot of lore for it, and there's a story, and it's overarching, and it's gonna have an ending, and people are loving Silly Cats Co. So it's not like your first webcomic has to be like lame and simple. It just shouldn't be your magnum opus. So all of the following tips do fall under that category pretty much, so just keep in mind your first project can't be too ambitious. So I've had 3 major attempts to make a comic in the past, and all 3 times I was aiming for a graphic novel, not a webcomic, but trust me, webcomics are so much easier. Anyways, the point of me saying this is that all 3 times my biggest mistake was that the art was way too complicated to be able to do over and over and over again. I wanted like good, perfect, beautiful, sketched out line art, colored backgrounds, everything. And that is achievable if you have really good motivation, but personally, that was actually the falling point for me. I gave up after 7 pages on 2 of them, and about 15 on 1 of them. So the point I'm trying to make is that tip number 2, your art style should be pretty simple for your first ever webcomic. Preferably no sketching needed. You just draw something and then revise it a little bit. Character designs should be replicated very, very easily, and it should have simple coloring and shading. Like the first step, this doesn't mean your comic has to look bad or lazy. You just need to find a simple art style that works well for you and looks good with your art skills. Something that you could honestly whip up in like 10 minutes. So for me, that's the Silly Cat style. And in my opinion, and in your guys' opinion, I think, this looks nice. Like, even though it's really, really simple and I can replicate it really fast and it doesn't take me too long to make panels, it still looks nice and it's like appealing and it's not something you don't want to see. Tip number 3, work on your story. Plan out how many episodes there are going to be beforehand and what happens in each one. Make sure that chapters aren't like too much story for a short time frame or not enough story for a really long time frame. You want to find that nice sweet spot where you just have just the right amount of update. I'll make a video on story writing in 2 weeks, so stay tuned for that. Tip 4, make backup. Make about 3 to 5 episodes before you even announce your comic. and then start releasing them weekly. I suggest making them 3 episodes ahead of time, because that gives you a nice enough cushion, but it also doesn't feel like you have to wait forever before you get to release the new chapter you made. The reason for making backup is if something comes up and you can't make a chapter for 1 week, you're not totally screwed, you just have the one from the weeks before. This might require a little bit of self-discipline, but I bet you can do it. Tip 5. Keep backgrounds simple. You don't have to make a beautiful shaded scene for every single panel. Please actually avoid doing this. I find it really distracting from reading. Really, your background can kind of just be blank most of the time, like just a solid color. Just very occasionally you want to zoom out to show readers where your characters actually are. Tip 6. Have good dialogue. I know this might not seem as important if you're writing a comic rather than a book, but your dialogue should have correct grammar and probably spelling, that would be nice. But I don't really mean to be a grammar snob. My main problem is that you need to treat it kind of like a TV show script with good punctuation, so you know where one thing ends and another thing starts. Another thing really fun to play around with is coloring text, changing the sizes of text, and just having a lot of fun text, so it's just kind of eye-catching and fun. Tip 7. Schedule. So I know I was talking about weeks earlier, but do whatever works for you. Give yourself enough time to make an episode. Remember, you have a cushion of episodes if you do the backup thing, which I highly suggest, and don't be too eager. Just because you think you can make an episode every single day does not mean you can make an episode every single day. Tip 8. Take breaks and make extras. These are things to keep readers entertained while you're working on bigger episodes. Let them know if you're taking a break and keep them updated on everything. Common ones are Q&As and character bios. Let's go now, it's time to talk about Silly Cats Co., my webcomic, yay! Silly Cats Co. in 45 seconds. This is Woober. Woober owns a filming studio called Silly Cats Co. and has 2 employees/friends named Chip and Rue. Silly Cats Co. is kinda failing. This is their producer Acadius. He's a fan-favorite character and may or may not have a lot of trauma. Acadius calls a meeting with the Silly Cats Co. and their sister studio/rivals, the K9 Comedy Club. Acadius went broke from gambling. Now he can only afford 1 studio. They have 1 month to prove who's better and who gets to stay. Except everyone might be dealing with something of their own. The whole point to Silly Cats Co. is to prove that the world isn't so black and white. No good guys, no bad guys, just cats and dogs trying to get along. Will Silly Cats Co. get shut down, or will something save them? Read on Tapas for free!